As the indoor season ends, the outdoor season begins as the best throwers in Europe set the world on fire. Who walked away as champion at this year's NCAA and high school nationals? And we have the biggest announcement in all Throws University history. You take the throws, and we got the news on this week's Throw Show. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Throws Show. Whoa. I'm, of course, your host, Jason Kuhn, joined, as always, by the People's Champ, Mr. Team Fire Me Up himself, Olympic trials qualifier, and yes, of course, we all know he's the head throws coach of youth development at Throws University and Garage Strength, Mr. Sam Weeks.
What it do?
Sam, we started off the show today by saying that we have a big announcement. And this is something that we teased all the way at the first Throw Show of the year. After we live streamed the Akron Throws Clinic and the Akron Indoor Discus Competition, where my boy Sam won, by the way, we teased that we had something big in the works. And I'm excited to publicly announce that Throws University is partnering with Throwtown Ramona this April during their bronze level meets. These are the same meets that last year in 2024, Jaime Perez broke the Pan American record in the women's discus, and Mikolas Alekna broke the world record and world U23 record in the men's discus. We will be bringing our live streaming broadcast that we brought to Akron to Ramona. And every single competition from Thursday, April 10th through Sunday, April 13th will be live streamed on the Throws University channel completely for free. This is something we've had in the works for a few months now. Been working closely with Don and Caleb from Throwtown. They're the ones who've been making those meets possible. They made the greatest field and sector in the history of discus, basically.
100%.
We're going to have probably tens of hours of throwing content available for you on the YouTube channel, and we hope that you join us. And one thing I'm also super excited to announce is the competitors are going to be there this year. Last year we saw Jaime, we saw Mikolas, we saw Alex Rose, we saw Connor Bell, we saw Mika Sosna, we even saw who would become the Olympic champion in men's discus, Roja Stona. But this year, Mikolas, I can confirm, is returning. Not only do we have Mikolas, the defending world record holder, but Christian Che, the former world U23 record holder before Alekna, will also be competing. He is the 2022 world champion, and he's one of the very few discus throwers, along with Alekna, to have thrown 70 meters in stadium with dead wind. And we all know how the wind can affect the discus in Ramona. So we are going to see a competition potentially for the men's world record. But not only that, we are also going to see a competition for the women's discus record potentially. As not only will Jaime be competing, our girl, throwing 73 last year, but also Valerie Allman, the two-time Olympic champion, will be making her debut in Ramona. And she has also thrown 71 meters in stadium. Sam, this is something that we've been talking about since Ramona last year when you and I both witnessed the world record, of how cool it would be if we had a full broadcast to really give a spotlight on the throws that it deserves and what that competition deserves. What are your predictions, and what do you think about what could happen this year at Ramona?
So just right off the dome, I think this is going to be, like, history is going to be retold that weekend. Like, history was made last year, and this year is going to be even more grand. You know, we have these new matchups. We have Alekna versus Che, and then a stacked field. Like, there's a lot of good athletes competing, so they're all just going to be duking it out. And then we have Val and Jaime. And obviously, that's a matchup that I've been talking about. That's like a dream matchup. Like, they're both going to go crazy. And the special part is you guys get to witness this history with us, Throws University, because, like Jason said, we'll be live streaming the whole event. So, you know, you're going to be a part of it. We recommend spreading the word, share it with your friends, let people know that history is going to be made on April 10th all the way to April 13th, and you're going to be with us.
And one other thing I'll mention is, like, it's not just discus that we're going to be broadcasting. On April 10th on Thursday, we're going to be broadcasting some discus competitions, but starting on Friday, we'll also be streaming a bronze level competition for the hammer throw and the javelin. So some of the best hammer throwers and javelin throwers in the United States will be throwing, including, I think, even the world. We don't have a finalized list of who's competing, but I can tell you that some 80-meter throwers in the hammer are going to be showing up. Some 80-meter jav throwers are going to be showing up. And then on Saturday, we'll also be hosting the shot put, where I can say that some 21-meter shot putters will be showing up. And basically, if you're a fan of throws, we really hope you join us for this stream, because we want to give back to the throwing world. We want to show everyone how awesome the sport can be. And every single event will be featured at Throwtown Ramona this year.
Absolutely. All the shot putters, the hammer throwers, the javelin throwers, just know that we got your back. You can join us. We'll watch history coming soon.
But there'll also be another special guest who'll be throwing the discus at this competition.
Yes, sir.
The People's Champ is coming out.
The People's Champ is going to have the People's Toss in front of the People's Crowd.
Oh, dude, I can't wait. I'm so excited for it. Literally the best discus throwers in the world are going to be at this event. And like you said, history is going to be made.
100%.
And I'm also happy to announce that anyone who's been a longtime throwing fan is we actually going to have Dan McQuaid, longtime throws contributor, journalist, longtime coach, as our main commentator. So for everyone who's always complained that the commentary you listen to at the Olympics or a national championship, that no one knows what they're talking about and they're just saying random things, you get to have the premier throws journalist in the United States, Dan McQuaid, as your voice to tell the stories of these athletes and to guide you through the whole event. I was so excited when we confirmed Dan for this, because he was my first choice to commentate this event. And that's the other thing, is if you watched our event in Akron, we're going to have a multi-camera setup. So if you happen to watch, I don't mean to, throw shade, but if you watched Indoor Nationals for USATF, you notice there's only like one camera shot. It was far away and maybe it was a small rectangle. No, sir. We are going to have multiple camera angles. We are going to have basically the best footage that you could imagine, so you can rewatch technique. You can watch these throws for as long as the live stream is up. And that's the thing. It's free and it will be up forever for you to rewatch at your heart's content. Share it with your own athletes. Share it with your friends. Share it with your coaches. I know we're going on for a while, but gosh darn it, this is what the sport deserves, and we're happy to bring it to you. We're honored to bring it to you.
Throws You is for the people.
Throws You and Throwtown are for the people. So make sure you also thank Don Milliken for really facilitating this whole thing, and Caleb Seal for helping us run this whole event. And also, I need to make a contribution to Kara Winger, American jav throw record holder. She's awesome, one of the greatest people ever. Kara, Don, Caleb, thank you for all that you've done. We couldn't do it without you, and we're excited to see you in Throwtown. So now, we're finally going to start the throw show, because, Sam, a lot of big things happened since we last recorded, and a lot of big championships. We had the European Indoor Championships. We had the NCAA Indoor Championships. We had the High School National Indoor Championships in the United States. And finally, we're going to cap it off with the European Winter Throwing Cup, where records were broken and names were made and shocks happened. And we're going to start off with a shock of shocks. Rares Toter coming out for Romania to win the first European indoor title since 1973 for Romania, throwing a 21-27. I've been watching Toter for years now. I feel like he really came onto the scene with Konrad Bukowiecki back in the mid 2010s when they were both juniors. And, you know, he never really seemed to break through at the rate that Konrad did. Like within like 2 years of that, Konrad was already throwing 22. But Toter was still like hovering around high 19s, 20 meters. But, you know, it's been several years. He's stuck with it. He's thrown 21 consistently this indoor season, and now he's walking away with a gold medal. Sam, what do you see on this throw?
Let that man cook. Yeah. I mean, obviously, like, to put on for Ramona, not for Ramona, for Ramona. Wow.
No, we got Ramona on the break. April 10th to the 8/13th, Throws University YouTube channel, Throwtown Ramona.
Yeah, I'm just so pizzazzed about that. To put on for Romania, like, that's a huge accomplishment. Obviously, like you said, kind of just getting past that hump and, you know, doing it on the grand, you know, stage, like, that's huge. Like you said, 1973 to now, like, that's a very long time. So, like, you know, for you to do that, the biggest stage is like, it's grand, you know, it's awesome. Movement wise, I think, you know, obviously, like, this dude is super smooth. Obviously, it shows. He threw extremely far.
Yeah.
You know, so, like, it was a great toss.
I last thing I'll say, I was just like, to me, this shows what long-term commitment really, how it can really pay off. Like, you know, there are several athletes who tend to, you know, show up really early in their careers. But this guy has stuck it out for near 10 years since like his breakthrough as a junior and is finally walking away with a gold medal and is showing like, yo, I'm ready to break through now. It's like now that he's consistently over 21, that's the base that he needs. Maybe we will see him break through and throw 22. He has the technique.
Yeah.
And I've seen his videos on Instagram. The guy's strong. So I think this could be a huge watershed moment for his career so that he could even push beyond to those world-class marks. But the story when it comes to throwing indoors, my opinion right now, was Jessica Schilder taking the world lead away from Sarah Mitten, throwing 2069 to capture the European Indoor Championship. 2069, I looked at it, this was the farthest throw by a European woman since 1992. This is crazy. Like, we've always talked about how much we like Jessica's technique, but, you know, the Olympics were kind of off for her. She didn't have the meet that she wanted. A lot of women didn't have the meet they wanted in Paris.
Yeah.
But she's coming back. She threw high 19s earlier in the season, but peaked when it mattered, captured the European Indoor title. Sam, you're the man I go to when it comes to technique. What do you think of her throw here?
Dude, like, look at it. It's butter. It's poetry in motion. I think maybe credit it to whoever made this video. Like, they did a really good job, but, like, they highlighted it just, like, what she's doing at the front. Obviously, they highlighted what she's doing totally, but, like, she sets up out of the back, she transfers through the middle, and just stays grounded, works rotationally, and then pushes out into the finish. Like, it's butter. It's poetry in motion. And, you know, kind of going off what you said, like, last year she didn't have the best, like, she moved well, but, like, it just didn't really click on her finish. And I feel like this year she's completely fixed that. Like, she's been throwing far consistently all indoor season, and, you know, this capped it off with the world lead, you know, in the win. So it's like, you know, big shout out to Jessica. Like, I personally like this throw a lot. Yeah, no, I love it. And it's like, I think what it also then does is, you know, we were talking before European Indoors, like, oh, who's going to win the world indoor title? You know, everyone's talking about Chase. Everyone's talking about Sarah Mitten. Now Jessica's the world leader. So now it's like, okay, well, Jessica definitely could also take the title. You know, we were also talking about Yemi. And, you know, as a quick sidebar, it's like, now seeing this performance, does your perception of who could win the world indoor title change? Absolutely. I feel like now it's just like whoever shows up. Like, obviously it's always whoever shows up, but, like, I feel like there's so many women right now who are just, like, on fire. Like, they're coming in with that swag. Like, they can just take the win, like, at any given point. So, like,
last question, does it take 20 meters to podium?
Probably.
Really?
Dude, the way that all of these women have been throwing, probably.
Well, I think it's just crazy. It's like we've seen so many national records. Sarah broke her national record. Chase broke her national record. And now Jessica re-broke her national record. Like, I think, like, when it comes to this episode of Throw Show, the women are just dominating throwing right now. They are the talk of the sport. They're outdoing the men. So, guys, you better step up.
Shout out to all the women.
And now we move on to the NCAA Indoor Championship, where we're talking about the weight throw as Taylor Kessner captures the NCAA title with a personal best of 23.50 on the final round. Guys, one thing I'll add before we get into her technique is University of Wisconsin actually just put out a video that details like a little documentary of like her competing last year, not performing hopefully the way that she wanted, to coming back on the final round to capture this national championship. So if you have a chance, go check out, I think it's Badger Throws or University of Wisconsin Track and Field. Watch that video. It's incredible and tells her story in a way that just has you rooting for her the whole time. But Sam, you're the weight throw technician. What do you think of this throw?
Yeah, so I was able to watch this throw, via a live stream. And it's just like one of those throws where it's like she does everything that she needs to do. And, like you said, she won it on her last attempt. If you want like specifics, she sets the ball up left. She accelerates through each turn and she just, releases it and just transfers everything into the finish. But I think, kind of what you alluded to before, it's like the story of it just makes it that much cooler. Mm-hmm. And, just like Jason said, if you guys have the time to go check out that video, please go check it out and let them know, like, let them know that you watched it and you support, what they did, because that's how we get more of this stuff and that's how we get more stories told.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Show your appreciation and thank them because, if they see that this is what they want, they'll give it more. Give it more to us. And then we have to talk about the men's weight throw and the person that has continued his streak every single episode of the Throw Show in 2025. Daniel Reynolds delivers on the promise, throwing over 25 meters yet again, a new personal best. Not only that, breaks the NCAA meet record off a freaking two-turn. 25:08, Daniel Reynolds from Wyoming. Dude, this guy's just been rocking all season. Sam, what do you guys say? Because one thing you said last Throw Show, was about how his technique has improved. It looks like his technique may be even getting better.
Yeah, I feel like the last few weeks, like, things really start to click with his technique. I alluded to it in the last episode. I was like, he looks a lot smoother. He looks a lot more controlled. He looks like he's working the weight, on a longer path. And I feel like, I follow Daniel and I was, able to see his training. And I feel like each video that I watched, his movement got better and better and better, as the season progressed. And it's like, I feel like all of that work that he put in set him up to have the season that he did, capping off with an NCAA championship and taking the record. Off a two-turn.
Taking the record, man. Like that, dude, that's just icing on the cake. You love to see it. Like, I listened to the interview he did. Like, he's excited. He's excited for outdoors. And, it'll be interesting to see, like, dude, honestly, when we look at the outdoor hammer, like, things change a little bit on who's going to be on top. But we're probably going to be talking about Daniel Reynolds coming outdoors.
Oh, yeah, dude. He's going to be a top dog in the hammer. And, like, the best way to, I guess, put it is, like, if he is able to be this smooth with the weight, he's going to be that smooth with the hammer. So this probably won't be the last time that we talk about Daniel Reynolds.
And one thing I'll add before we move on, this was also the deepest NCAA weight throw comp in history, with 6 men breaking 24. We used to only see maybe 2-3 guys throw 24 meters a season a few years back. And now we see over 6 men all in one competition. To me, it's like, I don't know what's going on with USA Throws, but I like it because this reminds me almost of like the men's discus from trials last year.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. I feel like throws in general is evolving. Like, on every level, athletes are just throwing farther. They're getting better. They're getting stronger, and they're throwing farther. They're having better performances, and I'm all for it.
I love it. And now we go on to the NCAA shot put, because we're still not done with the NCAA, as we're going to see defending champion Tarek O'Hagan throwing 20.49. Now, this is a very, very close podium for top 3.
Yeah.
But he defends his championship, winning indoors, throwing 20.49. Tarek's a beast. He's super consistent. Mm-hmm. What do you see on this throw?
Dude, so he does are we calling it the Fabry start? He does that staggered stance, and I feel like that just allows him to get a little bit wider out of the back and just create a little bit more angular momentum into the middle and obviously transfer it into the finish. But I feel like regardless if he did that or the traditional, like, he's going to throw far. Like, he's going to give you a 21 performance honestly at any given point, but especially when it matters most. So no surprise, but like you said, it was very close.
And before we get into those other podium finishes, we're going to get to the women's champion. We have the 2023 outdoor champion, Axelina Johansson, out of Sweden, throwing 19.28. She beats defending champion Maya Lesnar, and she defeats defending outdoor champion Jada Ross. She's had a very, very good indoor season, been super consistent over 19. I've always loved Axelina's technique. She actually probably has some of my favorite shot put technique, men or women. What are you seeing on this throw, and what do you think of her performance?
I think she was a little this way. Like, you can see, I don't know if it's this camera angle, but
yeah,
she's a little off balance. But dude, when you throw it that far, sometimes you just got to let that happen.
At the end of the day, it's a championship meeting. What matters is if you win.
Yeah. Obviously she's an Olympian. She's very technical. Like, she has very good movement. And it's like one of those things where you can go into a competition and just trust what you've built. But sometimes it's like you just got to, I hate this term, but like grip and rip. Sometimes you just got to let loose and just go out there and just hit a bomb. And that's what she did.
Smash mode. And as we discussed about Jada Ross got second at this comp. This was actually Jada's last meet competing for Oregon. You see that hug she gives to her coach, Brian Blutrick. What an amazing NCAA career. She's the first and only woman to ever throw 20 meters in college. Maybe just a quick sidebar. You've always loved Jada's technique. You've always hyped it up. Talk to me a little bit about your thoughts about her legacy in the NCAA.
She's the GOAT. What else do I gotta say, bro?
And
like,
fourth place at the Olympics.
Yeah, bro. Like, she has shown up. I feel like, especially the last couple years, like, she has definitely made her a name for herself. And to get second place, like, that's still like a huge thing. Like, she's done so much. Like you said, she's the first over 20. She is a defending champ. She won last year in outdoors. Like, she made a name when it comes to women's shot put in the NCAA, and I'm very excited to see what she does as she makes, that transition into the more professional sphere. Obviously, she's an Olympian, but like, as she continues, throwing shot put.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. We've talked on previous throw show how the women's shot put just continues to get better and better, almost what seems every week, especially off the performance of Schilder. It's not going to be long, I think, before we start seeing another 21-meter shot putter in the women's shot. And I think Jada Ross could be one of them. So this is a very long video, but like one thing we kind of highlight is the second placer in, the men's shot put was a glider. It was our boy CJ Licata.
Right here. Boom.
Oh, boom. Dude, I love his technique. It is so aggressive, so simple. He hits that short, long glide. Ulf Timmerman would be proud. Back foot, large cross the circle, wide base, huge punch, big yell, over 2040. I think it was 2046. So he's only 3 centimeters shy. Like, he could have won the NCAA title as a glider in 2025.
Yeah.
CJ, please, if you're watching, keep throwing. I legitimately think you can do some serious damage as an American shot putter, as a professional with the glide. Legitimately, I think you have that capability. This is me talking. Please keep throwing, because I love watching you throw, and I think there's still so much more in the tank for you.
Yeah, I agree. I was very fortunate to meet CJ in New York at a 12th Rock meet.
Mm-hmm.
And, I've always been a big fan of his glide. Like, when I think of glide in the U.S., I think of him and I think of Luke, obviously. Yeah. I think, was his name Alex Renner?
Alex Renner, yeah.
Yeah, he's another one that, comes to mind. But, like, those guys all did, the glide justice. Like, they did everything that you needed to do and then more. Yeah. And it's like, it's exciting to see. And, like you said, I'm also a glider. I would love to see CJ continue gliding. I think the biggest thing is just like him remaining healthy, because I know that he had a slight injury going into this season.
Yeah.
So it's like, I want him to keep pushing, but I also want him to be healthy. So CJ, if you can, please. But, if it's a health thing, I totally get it. Hats off to you, man. You did your thing. I was actually rooting, like, I was going nuts. I was like, bro, did he on his last one? Yeah. I don't know why. I think it's just like that glider intuition. I just knew. I was like, that's deep. Like, it was far. And I was like, dude, like, my eyes were like big. I was like, did he just win it? But, he came really close. And like I said, hats off to CJ. I hope he continues. And,
Well, the thing is, like, it's cool for us to see, and I think one thing that's cool about, like, CJ, Luke, and you mentioned Alex before, these aren't super tall guys. Mm-mm. Like, yeah, they're above average height, but we're not talking, like, 6'6", 6'7" guys.
Yeah, no.
Like, we're talking, like, 6'1" to, like, 6'3". And they're showing that the glide is still a viable technique. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I'm sorry, if you're throwing mid-20s with the glide, you're a competitive thrower no matter where you're at.
100%.
And for third place, again, what we were saying about this deep competition, the men's shot put, Jason Swearens, who was Big Ten champion, throws 2040. So we got to think, first place 2049, second 2046, third place 2040. All three of these guys, had the chance of winning. Mm-hmm. Breaks his school record at Wisconsin. So Wisconsin walked away with two really, multiple big results. Actually, Joseph White also threw well in the shot put and the weight throw. But if we look at his technique here, we were talking about him winning Big Tens. Like, again, Jason's another guy. It's like, I see each of these collegiate guys, and I'm like, look, I know life comes in the way, but it's like, I see so much raw potential left there that I'm like, each of these guys, I'm like, you guys can be pushing like mid-21s.
Yeah.
And it's like, I respect whatever life decisions there are, but like, dude, like, I see this. I'm like, dude, there's still quite a bit in there. What do you think of his throw?
Yeah, no. I think he sets up really well. I'm not the biggest fan of what he does with his left arm, more so in the middle, but it's one of those things where it's like he's doing the fundamentals correct, and it's like the style is what works for him. So it's like, for, not everyone's throw is going to look the same, and I think that's only natural. It's like we all have different styles, but it's like if you can do the core fundamentals, you will throw far. Like, you will be successful, and I feel like that's something that we are, watching right now. It's like, even though his technique is different from my technical model, it's still right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think he does a lot right, and clearly it shows. He threw 2040 for third place.
Yeah, big throw, and honestly, we're excited to see what happens outdoors. And then we move into the high school ranks as Jessica Oji. Now, this isn't actually her championship-winning throw, but Jessica Oji, who came very, very close to breaking the high school indoor national record for girls shot put, walks away as Nike Indoor National Champion. The video that we're seeing here is of her during the shot put showcase, which you'll see the winner of that following this video. But Jessica Oji is leaving a huge high school career indoors. She had that massive throw at Ocean Breeze, throwing over 57 feet. It's exciting to see, what that throw shows for her potential moving forward. Mm-hmm. Like, how much further can she go outdoors? And what did you think about her indoor season? What do you think she could do outdoors?
Yeah, so I was following this competition. Like, I was looking at the live results. Jessica won the meet on her first attempt, but didn't really have a stellar performance after that. I believe she only had one other legal mark, but it was like one of those things where it's like it was a good learning lesson. You know what I mean? So it's like obviously we all know she's a very talented athlete, but it's like one of these competitions where it's like it didn't go, I guess, exactly how planned, and it's like one of those things where it's like you kind of just accept it for what it is, and then you learn from it. So like when she competes at outdoor nationals, she knows how to handle it and how to make adjustments if need be. So I think this competition, obviously she won. It's congratulations to that. But it was like one of those things where it's like you can look back and really kind of learn a lot from. Now, what do I think she'll do outdoors? Everyone knows outdoor throwing is so much, better than indoor throwing. So
Yeah.
I think she might, go crazy. So I think obviously she had a stellar indoor season. I think outdoor is going to be even better.
Yeah, and it's going to be exciting, especially because outdoors is a longer season, so you get more reps in. And she also did a lot of growing in the indoor season, so those reps are going to hold off when she throws at these outdoor meets.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to talk about Nike Indoor Nationals. There's multiple indoor national championships, and I'm learning that apparently the Adidas Indoor Championship is this weekend, the same weekend as World Indoors, which we'll try to cover in the fall in a few weeks in the next throw show. But at the Nike Indoor Championship, you have the national championship competition,
Mm-hmm.
but then you have another competition called the Showcase.
Mm-hmm.
Sam, can you walk me through like what the Showcase is and maybe why we need to add it to more meets?
Yeah, so the showcase is essentially just like a one-on-one tournament where they have two showcases. They have the boys showcase, they have the girls showcase, and then they have a mixed gender showcase.
Okay, so there's 3 comps.
Technically 3, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess, 3. So essentially it's just like a one-on-one. I believe it goes the furthest distance from each bracket advances, or like if you foul, obviously you don't advance, but
Right.
like it's whoever throws the furthest or the better toss advances. I believe it's 8 athletes, and then I think it's the top 8 or maybe the top 6 from the national meet, and then they do the showcase, and then they just go one-on-one until you get a champion. And this year's champion on the girl side is our girl Addie Stiverson, who actually got second place at the championship meet. She really put on a show. Like there are a lot of clips of what Addie did in this competition. She won the girl side, and then she won the mixed gender side, which we're watching right here.
Yeah.
Addie went out there, she did her thing. The boy, I forget his name at the moment.
Is it Donini?
I think so.
Is it the boys winner?
Yeah, the boys winner.
okay,
Yeah, he goes
we'll
up.
be up.
You see the girls kind of just like in front of him, kind of just like spooking him out, and then the boys come in, and it was just like a very exciting tournament. Like showcase. Like it was something that I think needs to be incorporated in like a pro series, like not like the main competition, but like an exhibition afterwards. Like because like me just watching this, like I had goosebumps, and I was just like, dude, like could you imagine? Like I personally don't like when I have people in front of me, like in front of the circle.
Right.
You have every competitor in front of you, and it's like, are you gonna rise to the occasion, or are you gonna allow that pressure to get to you? And I feel like as a spectator, that is fun, and like I can only imagine every athlete like in that experience. Like that's a once in a lifetime kind of thing, unless you go to nationals again. But like someone like a Jessica Oji, who is a senior, like that's a once in a lifetime experience, and like that is the coolest freaking thing possibly ever.
So especially as like a high school kid, like this has got to be like the most fun thing in 100%. The world. And one thing I'll say though is what you said about adding it to more pro comps. People love to talk about what's wrong with track and field and how to fix it. And it's like people are like, oh, we need to eliminate the throwing events. No, we need to give throwers 3 throws. No, we need to reorder on the last round of the top 3. Like people do all these gimmicks that they think is going to save the field events. Do this.
Yeah.
This is awesome. And what it does is it's a different kind of competition. So it's less about who has the farthest mark. Now it's like, you can't foul or else you're out.
You're out.
So it's like people are going to be a little more defensive, but then you have to be like, okay, maybe I got to be even more risky.
Yeah.
And then there's more gamesmanship to it. And don't get me wrong, I love the traditional event. But having something like this just to put like a different kind of edge to this sport, because you got to think, we have things like sports like basketball, right? Or sports like football. There's so many different variations of those sports that people watch. There's arena football. There's 3-on-3 basketball, like half court basketball. And it's like, these are competitions that people do watch.
Yeah.
And it's like, when you think how you could do that with field events, this is like the perfect way. And I think the best part about it is the involvement from a team atmosphere that you got to see from the girls versus the boys.
Yeah.
So the girls, like, they actually encourage the girls to like try to distract the boys. And what's great about that is, like, to me, that's just like NCAA basketball, when it's like they do the foul shot team and they have like the curtain and everyone's trying to distract the guys from doing foul shots.
Yeah.
That's one of the greatest things about March Madness and NCAA basketball. And I think you're basically bringing the same kind of concept to throwing, and it's showing that this could work, and almost has me thinking like, we have to figure out a way to implement something like this at GS in one of our meets, because if we could do a showcase like this in, like, especially with high school kids, this is the type of thing that's going to have them love the sport and want to keep coming back.
Yeah, absolutely.
And honestly, we don't really have it in here, but I do know that Ryan Krauser announced the shot put series that he's going to be doing. I think they start their first meet at Drake in a few weeks.
Drake Relays.
The Drake Relays at the end of April. And honestly, like, have the normal competition. Obviously, you want to still have like the standard sport, but implement something like this and get more people involved. It also just inspires more fan engagement, which is what we've constantly been striving for in the sport.
Absolutely.
So now we're going to go to Peter Donini, who you were talking about earlier. And man, this guy had a weekend. So he walked away winning the Nike Indoor Championship, throwing, over 66 feet. He wins Nike Indoor Nationals. But like I said earlier, we don't just have one high school indoor championship. We also have the New Balance Indoor Championship. So he walks away throwing 66 feet, comes out a day later, travels across the country, goes to New Balance and throws 65.9 to get second. Like 2 meets in a row, throwing over 65 feet. You walk away with the national championship and national runner-up. Like, I don't know what else to say. Like, good on you, Peter. Like, that's an amazing feat.
Yeah. First, Peter, I want to apologize. I kind of fumbled your name. But second, I just want to say that's such a power move, bro. To pull up at the Nike Nationals, which was in New York, win, and then go to my home state, Massachusetts, and compete at the New Balance Nationals, which was at the New Balance track in Boston, a few hours away.
Yeah.
And get second. Like, that's so sick, dude. Like, that's literally like, I got that dog in me. I'm about to go just compete. And it's like one of those things where I kind of said it before, where it's like, you just, you prepare for this moment. You prepare for these moments. And it's just like, you trust what you've been doing and you just go out there and go have fun. And obviously Peter did that.
What do you think of his technique?
It's good.
Yeah.
Outside of that, like, he sets up really well. He's very long. He allows the left arm to drop a little bit. I'd keep it up, but he makes it work. You know what I mean? And I don't know how tall he is. He looks very tall, but he's very long. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to call him slow, but he's very controlled, and he works the ball very long and just transfers everything into the finish. Like, when he releases it, that shot goes, like, it zooms out of his hand. So, like, that he's generating a lot of force, behind the ball. So, he's smooth.
Mm-hmm. So now we move on to the New Balance champion who did beat out Peter, Anthony Lisknovich, throwing 66.3. And because I guess this meet technically is different from the old New Balance meet, it's considered the meet record.
Okay.
The only reason I say that is because I remember New Balance being a thing when him and I were in high school. And, there have been a few people that have thrown, I think, over 70 at that meet. So, 66.3. Honestly, I like this. I like his movement. I like his
Yeah.
movement a lot. He gets around well. He gets his left foot down really fast at the front, and he smashes it. And one thing I've also noticed, kind of looking at his Instagram, he looks to be a pretty elite football player. What do you think of his throw?
Yeah, no, I like that. I like his throw, and I feel like it's one of those things where it's like, okay, I don't know if he knew that Peter was coming to this competition, but it's like, yo, you can't let someone win 2 national champions. It's like, nah, like get out of here with that. So it's like one of those things. Like I know, like if I was in this competition and I knew someone won another national, like I got that chip, bro. I gotta show up. So that's what Anthony did here. He showed up. He's smooth through the circle. He's another one where just like when the shot leaves his hand, you could just see it zoom. So it's like I don't even know what to say. Like he showed up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Not only did he show up, he had a 4-foot PR on this throw.
He really showed up. He got that dog in him.
Oh my gosh. So you got to think he went from throwing not even 19, if we go to metric, not even 19 meters to over 20 in one meet.
Dog, bro.
Well done, Anthony. Well done. And then we're also discussing the women's champion for the New Balance national title. And we have Courtney Daniel throwing over 48 feet. And
stance.
It seems like every high schooler wants to throw like Fabry now. It's
Yeah.
funny. But she has a good movement.
She does. She get a little more open out of the back, but she makes it work. See, that's one of my things about like when kids ask about like, should we do the start? It's like, I mean, you could. I'm not going to tell you not to, but I definitely advise not doing it until you have very, very, very good movement and you throw really far.
Yeah, I definitely see what you mean. The only thing I will say is at least everyone we've seen, all these high school kids that are using these movements,
Yeah.
they are so much better technically than what I remember watching good kids in high school doing.
Yeah.
So it's like their technical models are still so sound that they're executing at a pretty freaking high level despite maybe some minor tweaks that they could make.
Absolutely. And to go off that, like, even though I advise kids not to do this, like, sometimes, you try things out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And obviously, she threw 48. Like, it clearly worked. So, power to her. She got that dog in her. And I think that's a skirt. I don't know. Tutu, maybe?
No, it's a skirt.
Skirt? That's kind of fresh. I'm not going to lie.
So I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this real quick. I was not sure if this would be cool to say. I've always been a fan of skirts for women throwers. Don't make it weird. Only because like visually the movement of the dress just looks very cool to me.
Yeah.
Like I remember there was a women hammer thrower like 15 years ago who used to throw in a skirt, and like the way the skirt would just like flutter around as you do hammer turns. I was like, that's just aesthetic.
Yeah. It's like one of those things where it's like, look good, feel good, throw far.
Yeah. Courtney, bring back the skirt to women's throws. I'd love to see it.
Stamped.
Basically, it's it's almost similar to like what the Scottish Highland Games do. I think it just looks super cool when you do rotation. But we're going to go into the high school discus. Now, these are the early stages in American high school discus. This throw is 190 feet. But the reason why I wanted to highlight this is this video basically went viral. So this is Jeremiah Robinson hitting a 30-foot PR in the discus. We actually shared his throw. He DM'd us. Very, very nice kid.
Yeah.
Very respectful. And I just thought, let's highlight him because he clearly has a lot of athletic ability and a lot of strength and power. We're going to be real. There's some things that you could probably work on technique-wise, which is where I kind of want Coach Sam here to really analyze it. But, dude, like, I assume you might be playing football, but if not, like, if you want to throw in college, man, you have so much potential.
Yeah.
Sam, what do you think of his throw, and what do you think he could work on?
Yeah, before we get into that, little story time, Tamon sent me this video, and it was the first thing I saw when I woke up, and I was like, 30 feet. Like, that's crazy. Like, I can only imagine just like the goosebumps he had, like the feeling he had, just like knowing, like, yo, I just PR'd by 30 feet. Like, you don't get that. Like,
Yeah.
when you're throwing, like, he obviously threw 160.
Yeah.
To go 160 to 190, that's not like a normal thing. You know,
Right.
that's not like, even though his movement might say like he might still be a beginner, that's not a beginner jump.
Those aren't
Like-
beginner
like,
distances.
Yeah, like that's crazy. But if we're talking about his technique, you got a lot to work on. I think the biggest thing is keep your arms long. Keep your arms long. Work on pivoting. Make sure that left foot's not blocking you off, so you get that right foot turned into the left a little bit more. And honestly, dude, like, keep smashing forward. Like, it flew well. A little bit of wind. You can see how it landed. A little bit of wind, but you know what? We like wind out here. Wind doesn't matter, or it does matter. But
we are wind positive.
We
here
are
at
wind
Throws
positive.
University.
A PR is a PR. We take those. Okay. If anyone's like, "Oh, you throw it in the wind," just be like, "We take those," and that's stamped. Sam said so. It's stamped. But I think it's like, if you keep working on your technique, dude, like, the sky is the limit. Like, you're going to throw, you already threw far, but it's like you can throw so much further and you can have so many more doors open up for you. So just please keep throwing, keep working on that technique, pick up a throws you analysis if you want to really learn how to, improve. Please keep doing this.
Sam, I think Sam wants to work with you, Jeremiah.
Yes.
One thing I'll also say here, and this can be something he can take home with him. Based off this throw, should he try to reverse or should he try to be a non-reverser? What do you think?
That's a good question. I think he should be a non-reverser until he gets the little details ironed out and then incorporate the reverse.
Yeah, and one thing I'll say is, like, in the next coming weeks, we actually do have a Throws University YouTube video coming out that we are going over specifically how to reverse or non-reverse in the discus. Dane has coached, Alex Rose, who is a reverse discus thrower at over 71 meters, and he's also coached Jaime, who is a non-reverse discus thrower at over 73 meters. So both techniques are valid. Both men and women have thrown very far with both techniques. So if Sam says that you should continue non-reversing, take that as, like, you could throw 200 feet with a non-reverse. Like, that is a very realistic goal for you. You've already thrown 190. Obviously one thing we'll say is, like, you want to make sure that you're focusing on trying to get better, because it's very easy for a big result this early on in the season to, like, maybe get to your head a little bit and maybe discourage you if you're not hitting those marks, consistently in training. Like, just stick with the process, learn from your coach, listen to what they're saying. And, like we always preach, you have to stick to the process. Like, it's the only way you're going to get better. And honestly, I think the sky's the limit for you potential wise. So best of luck to you, Jeremiah. We're going to be watching.
Best of luck.
So now we're getting back into the pro scene as we just wrapped up the European Winter Throwing Cup. And honestly, I love this meet every year. I think it's so fun because it's very good exposure for the throws, and we get to see the European side of throws. So we get to see throwers we don't normally get to see often. And they cover all the events over multiple days. Honestly, I would say what we're going to be doing in Ramona, the most similar comparison would be what European Athletics does with the Winter Throwing Cup. But one thing I want to highlight here to start off is there is a big upset in the men's discus. So we have Henrik Jansen throwing over 65 meters, 65.77 on this throw. And Henrik will be in Ramona, by the way. The whole German discus team, Mika Sosna broke the U23 German record there last year at 68.98. So Germany is going to come to play in Ramona. So if you want to watch him live on the Thursday University YouTube channel, make sure you check out our Ramona live streams. I'm going to keep plugging that every episode until Ramona. But what do you see on this throw? But sorry, before I get into what we see on the throw technically, what's very important here is he beat Christian Che.
Yeah, I was about to say.
He beat Christian Che by 7 centimeters. Christian, who is a world champion, a 71 meter thrower at his best. What do you see on Henrik's throw here, and what do you think, potential for him later in the season?
Yeah.
What do you think he could throw in Ramona? Honestly, that's my question.
A lot further than 65. Realistically, if you're throwing 65 now,
Yeah.
you might throw like 68, 69.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially, he, like you said, he beat Christian Che. This man's probably on cloud 9 right now, dude. Like, not many people can say they did that.
No. Christian Che is a great competitor.
Yes. Christian Che is one of the best in the world right now.
He's thrown 70 meters at 2 different world championships in stadium.
Yes. So, like, dude, saying that, like, I beat this guy and I'm going into Ramona, the place where far throws happen.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, dude. It's a wrap, bro. He's going to throw, if he shows up,
Yeah.
he's going to throw extremely far.
You know what's something I want to say about the German team that I've noticed recently with their discus throwers?
They're reversing.
Yeah, they don't revert. They don't do non-reverses anymore. Like, I kind of miss it because, like, dude, Robert Harding, like, dude, that guy. Sorry, my language. That guy was the shit back in like the 2010s. Like his one throw where he threw 69, like on his last throw at the 2009 Worlds in Germany, and he ripped his shirt off. Like, I kind of wish they would still do non-reverses, but dude. They're doing well, man, with the reverse. I like his technique. A lot of the Germans have good technique.
Yeah. No, he's long, he's smooth, he sets it up and just transfers everything forward, slings it. Good. So Ramona's going to be a fun place. And make sure you tune in. Make sure you tell your friends to tune in. We're all watching this history be made.
Dude, I can't wait. So for the women's shot put, we saw a new personal best from Jessica Schude of Portugal, throwing over 1920. She's a glider, and man, does she hit it.
Yeah.
I love it. Oh, she's so excited. Like, she knew she's walked away with a medal. New personal best. She's following in the steps of, the previous Portuguese record holder, Oriol Dongmo, who has a highly successful glider. What do you think of her throw here? I personally think she could chase the ball a little longer over the toe board, but what are you seeing?
Well, first, gliders forever. Shout out to Jessica. But yeah, no, let's watch this live. Let's watch it right now. I think, and this might be, I don't know if you feel this way, but I feel like she's a little floaty. It's weird to say that as a glider.
Maybe, you mean like her right foot takes a while to get down?
I feel like, I don't know, just like getting into double support.
Yeah.
It's like, I feel like she could get down like a second faster. And I know that's very minute.
Yeah. But in the glide, those little things make all the difference. That literally is a difference of half a meter.
It really does. I just feel like she could get down to double support like a little quicker, but evidently, bro, like she smacked it.
Yeah.
She smacked it. Like I think she got after it into, the delivery, but I think, working from the back to front, it's like getting down, but dude, she showed up and she threw far. So she's clearly doing, she's doing a lot right.
Yeah, and that's a really big punch. And the thing is, I grew up on guys like David Storl, Tomas Majewski, and if people even remember this name, Georgy Ivanov. Those guys were known for getting as far over the toe board as possible, hanging on it. So that's kind of the aesthetic of gliding that I've always really enjoyed. But dude, I mean, 1920, like this early in the season, new personal best. Like once you start creeping up at that high 19 range, you're talking medal territory at a lot of big competitions.
Yeah.
And then for the men's shot put at the European Winter Throwing Cup, our boy Eric Favors did compete at this meet as well. But the winner here was Nick Ponzio, who, I don't know if you've thrown against Nick. I've thrown against Nick a few times. He actually has the garage strength facility record at 2172. But he's back after a few years off competing for Italy. 2060 is a solid start to the outdoor season. What do you see on Nick's throw?
This might be weird to say, but I feel like when Nick reverses, it's very reminiscent of like a glider reverse.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It looks super cool. I've always liked the way that he reversed. And, to take a step back, it's like how he's, obviously getting into his power position and just how long he works grounded into the finish to set him up into that cool reverse. And if we take a step back even more, that's all set up out of the back.
Right.
It's a chain. It's what you do out of the back sets you up to what you do in the front. And, Ponzio is one of those guys who does a good job of setting up, he holds well in the middle and then just sends it forward into the front.
Would you call it a throwing chain reaction? Shout out Eric Johnson.
Shout
I
out
love you, Coach.
Eric Johnson. Coach Eric Johnson.
But this was another huge throw. This is one of those throws I'm like, okay, it was like this throw and then another throw we'll see later as like the big highlights of the early stages of the outdoor season. And this might hold as a world lead for a few months. As we see Adriana Vilagos of Serbia throwing a new Serbian national record over 66 meters in the javelin. I will default to Sam here. He is our resident javelin coach here at Throws University. But what I like here is they have a really good shot for you to see her whole throw. What do you think of her throw here?
They do. First, 66. That is a heave. Dude, that is far. And obviously, like you said, it's a Serbian record. If we're talking technique, I feel like she's very long. She's very relaxed. And she just, boom, like, I know like the video is kind of in slow-mo, but you can see how fast that javelin is moving as she releases. Like, it's sick. Like, that is, she sets it up. She's very long. She works through position. She gets her right leg into her block. Her left arm is still long as she's working through that motion and just creates that whip and just slings that bad boy. So, 66, new record, or excuse me, new national record.
Yeah.
Let me put respect on Adriana's toss. New national record for Serbia. Like that, like you said, this will probably hold up for a while. So
yeah, it's funny because I knew two Serbians when I was in college. It's two Serbian women. One was a hammer thrower. One was a 800-meter runner back at Kansas State. Shout out Maria and Sara. Sara was actually she might still be the Serbian hammer record holder, throwing, I believe, like 67 meters. So I always kind of have a little soft spot when I see Serbian throwers do well, just having that little connection there. And another cool statistic here is we have Nicola Tuthel out of Ireland. So this just kind of stood out to me because our boy Eric Favors competes for Ireland, throwing over 69 meters to capture the first title in European Winter Cup history for Ireland. Yeah. Now, this was the U23 championship, but this is a huge throw.
Yeah.
69 meters. What do you think of her throw here, Sam?
So the first thing that I see is how she gets to her high point straight out of turn one. Like, she gets the ball moving through her winds, but as she's working through the entry, like, she gets straight to the high point and she just keeps that going. Obviously, she accelerates on each turn and just, heaves it into, she just heaves it out there. But it's like the way that she sets it up, it's like controlled aggression. Like, she's very aggressive with it, but she's controlled at the same time. Like, I'm sure she could tell you every part of that throw, and it's just like one of those things where it's just like, dude, like, she really got after it.
Yeah, and honestly, Ireland actually does have a decent history of good hammer throwers. One of the biggest name coaches in the U.S. here is Paddy McGrath, who's Irish. He actually was a main contact for Eric to compete. He's based out in New York with his training group. And another hammer thrower in U.S. history who competed for Ireland in the early stages of his career is Connor McCullough. So there is a cool history of Irish hammer throwers, performing really well on the international stage. And throwing 69 meters as a U23, I don't know her exact age. This is good showing for what she could potentially do in the future on the international stage.
Yeah.
And then we'll get into the Olympic silver medalist coming out, winning the European Throwing Cup for the men's hammer at over 78 meters. Bence Halas out of Hungary. Bence is a very consistent, great hammer thrower. Sam, what do you see on Bence's throw here?
Yeah, so I feel like this is the opposite of what I just said, where Bence is like a little bit like his high point isn't as established through the entry. He's working longer around, and you can really see that through the orbit of the hammer. And it's just like boom, boom, boom. Like he really starts to accelerate on 3 and 4, but it's a different setup. But like respectfully, they both make it work. But like he makes that setup work, and I feel like most hammer throwers will be more like this, where it's like, you know, they're really going to work long. They're going to set it up through the entry. You know, they're going to get the ball movement on 1 and then slowly pick it up on 2, but really attack 3 and 4 if they're a 4-turner. But man, like this was like smooth, and like it's exciting to see a far throw this early on in the season.
For sure. And you know, it's going to be competitive come, you know, the for the Americans. It's like, you know, more and more guys getting closer to 80 meters. Again, he's the Olympic silver medalist, so we know he's a high performer when it counts at major comps. You know, we'd like to see him press out another 80-meter throw this coming outdoor season.
More fuel to the fire. You know, we talked about the 80-meter being the 4-minute mile. You know, we got these
84.
Oh, excuse me, 84. Yeah, excuse me. 84, but it's like, yo, he's that much closer to 80. And, you know, we were talking about some of our guys, you know, obviously a few of our guys have broken 80, but, you know, some of those other guys getting to 80 and then getting to 84. So it's like, good.
Well, you interviewed Rudy at the indoor championship, and he was basically saying, he's like, yeah, I feel good. I want another American record. But he also thinks like, you know, he's got competition, you know, with his compatriots. And I think it's going to be very cool to see, you know, are we going to see, you know, with what Ethan Katzberg's doing? Because one thing I even forgot is Ethan Katzberg did break the U23 record, world record, with his 84-meter tosses last year. And it's like, is that the spark to really get the
100%?
Because, or are we going to see this like the second coming of someone like Mondo Duplantis, who's just been wrecking the pole vault for the last 5 years?
That is facts, but I just feel like all of these guys, like we said before, it's like now we know it's possible.
Yeah,
you know, now we know it's possible, and I feel like just as I said before, the evolution of throwing is just getting so much better. And I feel like all of these guys are just going to go crazy. USA Hammer specifically, we're coming in squad deep.
And the performance, honestly, the only other performance, like it's like this performance and the, you know, javelin performance from Adriana and Jessica Schilder's shot put, like women, like I said at the beginning of the show, are dominating throwing right now. And nothing shows that more than Silja Kosonen of Finland throwing 77 meters, a 3-meter personal best. She's been a highly competitive hammer thrower the last several years. She's still pretty young. She was born in 2002, so I think she's 22 right now, and she's throwing 77 meters in March. Like, bro, this is... like, I don't know really what to say. Like, she's been a talent in the hammer throw for a long time, but like we've kind of just she's sort of been overshadowed by like the dominance of the Americans and the Canadians. But man, throwing this far, this early on, new Finnish record. If she was only like a few months younger, I think this would have been, or maybe very closely, U23 U23 record. But dude, like, what do you see here on her throw? And, like, what do you think this means for the state of women's hammer throwing?
Yeah, so I feel like her throw is very reminiscent of Ben's, just, you know, really kind of, I guess, I wouldn't say like as, I would say more controlled. I'll put it that way. She's more controlled through the entry, and then, you know, she attacks the later turns, you know, setting herself up to throw that far. You know, it's truly just like a setup. It's like getting the ball moving. For her, getting the ball moving right, and then accelerating, you know, in the later turns. And honestly, like, I think it's the same on both sides. It's just fuel to the fire. Like, hammer throw, I feel like, especially the last couple of years, have been extremely exciting. And I feel like, dude, like, to come out this early and do that, oh yeah, she's telling everyone else like, hey, I hope you are coming prepared because I am prepared right now.
Dude, like with the talent that is currently in women's hammer throwing, it's crazy to see because there's so many women that are breaking over 77. You have it's just crazy to see that you have Cameron Rogers who's active, you have Deanna Price who's active, you have Annette Echikunwoke who's active, you have Janae Casnavoid who's active, you have Brooke Anderson who's active, you have Celia here. Like I love when I see a large depth chart in an event, especially when like 10 years ago 77 meters was kind of like what we would see as like, we might only see that have like 2-3 women, and to know that there's like almost, we're getting close to like 6 to 8 women that are all throwing this distance. Like, it's very exciting to see how far the event has come in such a short period of time.
Facts.
And one last thing I want to cover from the European Throwing Cup was Vanessa Kamga. We talked about her last season as someone who just made incredible progress throughout the season.
Insane.
The first time I saw Vanessa throw was actually in person at Ramona. Mm-hmm. She set a personal best at the time, throwing 59 meters.
Yeah.
And then she just kept getting better. She ended up throwing 65 meters to break her national record, and then threw 65 meters at the gosh dang Olympics. Mm-hmm. Like, Vanessa, like, she was getting close to freaking medaling there, dude, and she's still super young, throwing 63 here at the Winter Throwing Cup to open up her season, to set a new world lead. I love the way Vanessa moves. What do you see on Vanessa's throws?
So before I get into how she moves, it's crazy to think, like, we both saw her PR at 59.
Yeah.
And then I feel like each competition afterwards, she got better.
Yeah.
And she was like, okay, what's the next thing I can do? Okay, 62. What's the next thing? 63. What's the next thing? 64. What's the next thing? 65. It's like,
she had a dream season.
She had literally a dream season. Like, literally, like, top 5 seasons of, like, all of the current throwers.
Yeah.
Last year. And it's just like,
and she's just picking up where she left off.
Literally, like, didn't even take her foot off the pedal. Now, when we're talking about her technique, I think obviously she's slightly staggered to the left.
Yeah.
I feel like with that, like, if she could get her right foot a little bit more to the middle, a little more under her, she'll be better stacked where she won't have to, shift left at the front, and then she get a little bit more driving into the finish. You see how she works down like that left sector line?
Yeah.
I think that might be intentional, but I feel like in doing so, she loses a little bit of the forces driving forward to that left angle. But outside of that, dude, like, she moves really well, and the foot's not off the gas. Like, she's throwing far.
I think that's the thing we have to remember here when it comes to, like, we can critique the thrower's technique all we want. It's still only March.
Yeah, there's
like a lot of this stuff is stuff that you iron out with reps. It's like, and especially when you count, like, and we said this last throw show, the World Championships are in freaking September, my guy. So it's like she has 6 months to iron out any minor deficiencies that her and her coach might see, and it's like, dude, Sweden just knows how to produce discus throwers. Yeah. I think that's pretty safe to say.
Yeah.
So we saw so many far throws today, and we're only going to see even more throws. We didn't even get into the preview of the World Indoor Championships. Like, we have the World Indoor Championships. Outdoors is starting, so we get to see more javelin, more hammer, more discus. And a reminder, if you want to watch some of the farthest outdoor throwing in the world this year, make sure you tune in April 10th, April 11th, April 12th, and April 13th for the Throwtown Ramona Bronze Series, streamed live on Throws University's YouTube channel. You know where to watch the stream. You're already there. You're already on the Throws University channel. Just make sure you tune in. Everything will be completely free. We're going to have commentary, multiple camera angles so you can analyze technique. Sam and I are so excited for this event. And make sure you tune in. If not for me, tune in for Sam. Support Coach Weeks here as he aims to throw a new personal best. He's going to get over 60 meters. I can feel it. We know he can do it. So cheer on Coach Sam Weeks.
Facts.
He's the host of the Throw Show, but he's also the People's Champ.
The People's Champ, delivering the People's Throw, coming soon.
And honestly, if you want to get better for throwing, or if you're a coach and you want to improve the way you're coaching, we have the perfect throws season now available on throwsuniversity.com. Make sure you click the link down in the description. It also comes with a 12-week training program that you can use to get you through the whole high school and collegiate season. Or if you're down under, you might be doing your season in the next few months, because we're going to be opposite of the seasons, because that's how metric works. Right? Yeah. Or if you just want a general strength program, you go to throwsuniversity.com, get a throws strength program, or you can get custom training from my boy Sam here. Or if you're someone like Jeremiah Robinson, you want to improve your technique, you can also check out our technical analysis from Sam Weeks here. He's one of the best throws coaches that you can find for high school, for college, for whatever level you're at. We're here to help here at throwsuniversity.com. But most importantly, we're here to help you drop some bombs. Peace.